Jenna and I originally met around 7 years ago and quickly hit it off, developing a strong friendship. We were both raised in the heartland of America, where our strong Christian values prioritized God above all else, even family. We spent Sundays in church talking about our future and what life has in store for us. I earned a strong profession as an engineer with several opportunities. Jenna excelled at her work selling accounting software for a large technology company based in Dallas. Before we married, my parents gave me a 3-bedroom house as a graduation gift. They believed in sharing their accomplishments while still alive, unlike most people who wait until they've passed away. Jenna and I married a little more than 5 years ago, and our relationship has been like an unending honeymoon. Our sex life was passionate, with us getting together at least 4 times per week. Our friends teased us about how we seemed like soulmates, and some of them were downright envious of how close we were. When we were blessed with twin girls, our delight increased exponentially. Raising children became our first focus, as we worked to create a caring and nurturing household. Sure, some may label our lives uninteresting. We spent most evenings cooking at home. We saved Friday and Saturday nights for going out, but Sundays were always reserved for church. We weren't into networking or following fashion trends, and Jenna's attire was rather conservative, both at work and at home. We kept our intimacy discreet, never exhibiting too much affection outside of the bedroom. Our marriage was built on trust and honesty, and it has remained strong. Jenna was naturally affectionate, expressing her love with delicate touches, kisses, and hugs. I adore that about her. We shared everything with one another, and raising twins was difficult. I treasured every single moment. They did stress Jenna out at times, but I was always there to assist her get through it. We communicated effectively, dealing with problems as they came, and life with Jenna and the girls was going well. Then, a week before her company's annual show, Jenna received word that she needed to attend because some of her co-workers had contracted the virus. She attempted to get out of it, but there was little she could do. She apologized, saying she was sad to leave us for 3 days and that she did everything she could to prevent traveling, including talking to her employer. She dreaded being apart from us, she claimed. I reassured her that we'd done quite fine for a few days, but that we still missed her. I helped her pack, and we went together for the limo. Her firm had supplied transportation to the airport. Our marriage was strong, full of trust and honesty. Jenna had never given me reason to doubt her love or commitment. We were always honest with each other and worked together, especially when it comes to parenting our children. She left on the second night. I received a message from Mike, a co-worker and friend of mine who was attending a cybersecurity symposium in Dallas. He mentioned seeing Jenna at the exhibition and inquired whether I was attending the same conference. I confirmed her presence in Dallas but was unsure of the exhibition's name. His message made me inquisitive about what he was attempting to express. He then provided 2 photographs and a brief video. I froze, a sense of dread lingering over me. The first photo featured my wife in an outfit I'd never seen before, the shortest one I could see her wearing. It had a deep neckline that exposed more than I was used to, and she was wearing heels I didn't recognize. Her hair and makeup looked immaculate. She looked really gorgeous. I laughed at first, thinking, I wish Jenna would dress like that every now and then, but my enjoyment vanished rapidly. The next picture showed her seated close to her employer. I realized, Tom Foster. I merely gazed, my head paralyzed and unable to grasp what I saw. The final photograph was a close-up of Jenna smiling and looking into Tom's eyes. My heart sank. I convinced myself there had to be a legitimate explanation, but I couldn't believe the video was coming next. It was brief, but had a significant influence. Jenna kissed Tom, her arms wrapped around his neck, and his hand rested on her chest. My entire world fell apart at that second. I could not breathe. I felt nauseous. Tears streamed down my face. A message flashed up. Are you okay? What do you want me to do? Would you like me to check on her? I replied, yes. I will call her right immediately. I called Jenna's number, but it went to voicemail. After several rings, I left a note telling her we missed her and wished her a wonderful evening. I then messaged Mike to provide an update. I simply tried to contact her. I said, Mike responded swiftly, sounding guilty. Hank, I apologize for all of this. She looked at her phone, saw the call, and just put it back in her bag. I've never seen her act or dress this way. It's okay, Mike. Thank you for telling me. You have been a terrific buddy. I will tackle this. There's no need to follow her. Just let me know if anything else comes up. Are you going to be okay, man? No, but I'll manage. I understand what I need to accomplish. Thank you again. I sat in the dimly lit living room with a strong drink, attempting to make sense of things. How could I have missed this? How long has this gone on? Nothing adds up. Our bond has only grown stronger over the last 6 months. We were closer than ever. None of it made sense. An hour later, Mike emailed more photographs and videos. One video showed them dancing, with his hand resting on her back. Another caught a kiss on the dance floor. A photo showed them caught in a deep kiss, oblivious that the music had stopped. I knew it was done between Jenna and me, but there was still so much I wanted to comprehend and figure out. I spent the following 3 days carefully plotting my next move, relying on my problem-solving skills from years of engineering experience. Jenna then surprised me with a call at 10 p.m., just after I'd received the last of those heartbreaking images. I took a deep breath, determined to keep my emotions under control and not reveal anything about what had happened. Hey, apologies for missing your call earlier, she replied, her voice quiet and lovely. I was unable to speak during a dinner meeting. I miss you so badly, darling. I wish I could be with you. Cuddling beneath the covers, I'm showering you with kisses. I miss you, Jenna. I really love you, and I appreciate your call. The girls are doing fantastic, by the way. I will email you some photographs. They miss you and can't wait for you to return home. I tried to leave tomorrow, but my supervisor insisted I stay. I hate being gone from you, but we'll celebrate when I get back. Are you finished for the day? I asked, attempting to sound nonchalant. Yeah, I am going to go to bed. It has been a long day. Love you, babe. I will call you tomorrow. Good night. I adore you more than words can express. Jenna. Good night. After I hung up, the tears flowed again. Everything I had said was correct. I loved her more than anything in the world. A part of me still has hope. This was all a terrible nightmare, but as the clock ticked past midnight, I couldn't sleep. My thoughts continued racing. Was she indeed in her hotel room? What was she doing now? That question was solved when another message from Mike appeared on my phone. It was another picture of Jenna and Tom seated on a couch in the hotel lobby. They were kissing, his hand creeping up under her skirt and her arms around his neck. They appeared like a couple in love, flaunting their emotions in public. And one final thing, friend. Mike's message was read. I'm done for the night, but it appears she's busy. Let me know if you'd like me to stop. I can put an end to it. I stared at my phone, attempting to keep my emotions under control. It's difficult to see, but thank you for the photographs. You do not need to follow her anymore. Let her go. It is her mistake, not yours. I appreciate everything you have done. I'm so sorry, Guy. I'm available if you need me. Thanks. I will take care of it. I sobbed myself to sleep that night, knowing that the lady I loved the most had deceived me. Exhaustion ultimately took over, and I found some temporary solace in recalling our wedding vows and the joy of raising our girls. Jenna sent me a rush of love messages the next morning, complete with hearts, kisses, and emoji. She told me how much she missed me and the girls, hinting to a passionate night together when she arrived home. She was pure sweetness, acting as if nothing had happened. I began to wonder if she had a dissociative illness or was unintentionally drugged. I looked for an answer, but deep down, I knew I had to accept reality and ready for her return. Our chat appeared regular, with Jenna telling me how much she wanted to be back with us. What hurt the most was not the affair itself, but the falsehoods she told to hide it. That deception was just as terrible as seeing her kiss Tom in those images. After learning of Jenna's betrayal from Mike's communications, I resolved to use my technological skills to take action. I discreetly placed tracking software on her phone, which I had originally purchased to track missing gadgets. I made sure to download the most recent version and even walked Jenna through the setup process. The software included a voice recording function too, which could automatically capture calls, texts, and emails and send them to the cloud. Let me be clear. I had no intention of spying on her before this, but after what I had seen, my trust had been damaged and I felt trapped. My first concern now is to safeguard our daughters and, if possible, save our marriage. Caring for the babies kept me occupied, providing some relief from the ongoing agony. Whether it was making breakfast, cleaning up their toys, or playing with dolls, those times served as a lifeline in the middle of mayhem. Let me inform you, taking care of 3-year-old twins is no easy task. It was approximately 2 p.m. I had just put the girls down for their nap, after cleaning the house and taking a shower. I sat down at the kitchen table and caught up on everything. Jenna had left me 6 more beautiful messages, indicating she would call at 5 p.m., when her workday finished. After going through them, I got into my laptop's cloud account and reviewed everything that had been captured since I installed the spy program. I was speechless as I read the text between her and Tom. Here are a few excerpts. "You were great last night, darling. Cannot wait for tonight. Thank you, honeybee. I had a terrific time, too. Let us meet in my room after work, before dinner. Sounds good, but I have to call my husband first. I'll be ready at 5:15. Is he suspecting anything? Of course not. He thinks I am still in love with him. We've kept it a secret for more than 6 months, and he has no idea. Do not worry." My blood boiled. Honeybee. This was my nickname for her, something I nicknamed her during our most private moments. She now had given it to him. How blind had I been? What kind of an idiot was I? I slammed the laptop shut and tossed a light across the room, watching it smash into the wall. I had been holding back my rage, and it finally exploded just as I was about to hurl something else. I overheard the twins crying in their room. Their cries drew me back to reality, and I soon calmed down. I rushed into their room, grabbing them up in my arms and hugging them till they calmed down. After cleaning up the broken glass caused by my outburst, I let the girls play in the living room while I poured myself another strong drink, trying to digest everything that had occurred in my head. Our marriage was beyond repair, and it was time to act. I didn't have the emotional stamina to listen to their talks or read through any more files, so I let them accumulate in the cloud. My objective was to keep up appearances with Jenna, seeming to be the loving spouse she believed I was, while I discreetly planned my next steps. I needed to contact a divorce lawyer, hire a private detective, and verify that I could obtain custody of the girls. Their well-being was the most important thing to me. "Hello, honey," Jenna's voice came over the phone. "How are the girls doing?" "They're missing their mom," I responded, keeping my voice steady. "Oh, I miss them so much," she exclaimed, her voice full of emotion. "I miss you, too. I can't wait to throw my arms around you once I get back. I am going to give you the biggest kiss you've ever received." I played along just as planned. "I continuously think about you, sweetie. I can't wait to be with my lovely, gorgeous wife again soon." "My love," she purred. "We'll get together shortly." I managed to keep it together, and her call lasted exactly 15 minutes. At 5:15, she concluded the chat with, "I love you, Hank. I have to catch the bus back to the hotel, but I will message you later. I love you, darling." I responded, knowing full well that it was just another lie that slipped readily from her tongue. She'd become good at this. As I hung up, the grief from her dishonesty had turned into something darker: disgust, hatred, and a desire for vengeance. Despite the betrayal, I had loved her with all of my being. It caused a deeper cut, but I was determined to reveal her lies and force her to face the consequences. Jenna returned from her trip, and I received her at the airport. She embraced me exactly as she had promised, kissing me as if nothing had changed. Either she was a world-class actress or she still cared deeply about me. I could not figure it out. Was her relationship with Tom merely physical, or was there more? Her actions continued to perplex me. That evening, she spent an hour with the girls, enjoying every second with them. Later that night, she was especially amorous in bed, murmuring how much she missed me as the girls expressed how difficult it was to be apart from us. She expressed a want to be near, to hold me in bed. She was delicate and loving, the polar opposite of the woman I saw in those images at the show. I returned her devotion, playing the role of a devoted husband, savoring every moment since I knew it wouldn't last long. I kept the unpleasant reality from her, showering her with love every night like everyone else. Our connection seemed wonderful. They even envied us. But that was all an act. For 3 months, I kept a tight eye out for any symptoms of cheating, but I noticed nothing out of the norm. Jenna arrived home at her usual time. No unexpected phone calls or messages. A part of me began to believe that everything was a mistake and that things will eventually work out. Then one day, I received a call from Carlos, the private investigator I'd hired. We agreed to meet the next day at his workplace in downtown. When I arrived, he greeted me and showed me to a conference room. "Good afternoon." "Hank, nice to see you again." "Likewise, Mr. Carlos," I responded, ready myself for what was ahead. "I wish I had better news," he admitted, his look solemn. "Unfortunately, I have some difficult information to offer. Are you ready to review our findings?" I groaned and nodded, knowing deep down what he was about to say. Carlos put a huge leather binder in front of me. It was divided into sections: text messages, voice transcripts, video calls, phone records, and photographs. "Mr. Carlos, before we dive in," I murmured, scratching my head. "I'm confused. I've been keeping a tight eye on her for the past 3 months, and nothing seems out of place. She's been the ideal wife. None of this makes sense." "Let me walk you through everything carefully," Carlos said, "and we'll see if anything makes sense." I hadn't been able to bring myself to review the files in the cloud, hoping that all would work out. But Carlos's hopes were dashed when he flipped over the pages. There were almost 75 pages of text messages, 25 pages of emails, and 75 pages of time-stamped images of Jenna and Tom entering and exiting hotel rooms together. There were more than 82 video calls and 50 pages of phone transcripts. Carlos revealed that Jenna and Tom have been meeting in a motel at least 4 times per week for the past 3 months. His voice was steady. They spend about 2 hours together each time. My stomach churned as I heard, and Carlos then showed me a photo of a second man from the previous month. He mentioned that she appears to have been seeing this individual as well. "Do you recognize him?" I stared at the photograph, feeling blood drain from my cheeks. "Is it Charlie Gray? He is the CEO of her company. Are you telling me she's associated with 2 men, one of whom is the CEO?" "Carlos." His expression softened. "I am afraid so. Based on the text messages, phone calls, and videos, it's evident that she's had a physical relationship with both." He paused before proceeding. "There is a video tagged balcony. It depicts them sharing an intimate moment on the balcony with Charlie behind her as she leans over the railing. They weren't aware they were being recorded. The footage is superb definition. We have clear close-ups of their faces, and the audio was recorded twice. Carlos aired the video on a big 80-inch screen. My heart broke into a million pieces when I saw the woman I once adored lean over the balcony with her CO standing behind her. I felt like I was going to get sick. I had to leave the room for a few minutes to gather my calm before facing more of it. When I returned to the conference room, I encouraged Carlos to continue. I needed to know what my wife had been up to. Carlos explained that the film, labeled Balcony 2, shows your wife with both Charlie and Tom at the same moment. His tone was serious. I apologize for having to show you all of this, but because they were made public, these recordings may be valuable if you decide to proceed with your divorce and custody case. I sat there with my mouth open, still unable to fathom how this could be. Jenna. I prayed hard that there had been an error. Hank Carlos proceeded. We looked into both Tom Foster and Charlie Gray. Tom has been married for 11 years, and Charlie has 3 grown children from his 25-year marriage. The text exchanges between your wife and Tom show that Tom brought Charlie into their activities after Jenna indicated an interest in, well, a love triangle. It's difficult to read, but I'll leave it for you to review on your own time. Here's the folder plus a USB drive with everything. Your lawyer will probably need both. When I met with my lawyer, she was astounded by the huge volume of evidence we obtained. She couldn't believe Jenna had been able to conceal her infidelity so effectively at home. Jenna continued to play the role of dedicated wife and mother, as if everything were totally normal. My lawyer presented the different legal choices based on the data I gave, but she required time to completely evaluate everything. We booked another session for the following week, and I told her to start filing divorce papers as soon as possible. As I left the lawyer's office, I felt empty inside. I knew it was finished long before these encounters, but watching those films had obliterated any remaining hope for reconciliation. I couldn't shake the question, who was the woman I thought I knew? Later that evening, after the girls went to bed, Jenna and I sat down to watch Unfaithful, a movie I discovered on Netflix. I had heard it was good, so I casually recommended we give it a try. Knowing the film's premise, I was prepared for a talk I needed to have. During the movie, I casually mentioned a female intern at my office who had been flirting with me for several months. Could you envision me with another woman? I giggled, trying to keep things lighthearted. Jenna's eyes narrowed. Really? What if I catch you even considering being with her? I am gone. You are mine and no one else's, she declared, dead serious. Given her own conduct, it was astonishing that she could be so offended by the thought. It was making me crazy. Hank, why haven't you told me about her sooner? What is her name? She pressed. Jenna. Relax, I responded, attempting a grin. She's merely a young, flirtatious intern. I have utterly disregarded her. How about you? You are the most beautiful woman in your office. Nobody flirts with you. Of course not, she snapped. They all know I am married and would never cheat on you. So in all the years we've been together, you've never considered being with anybody else, not even a friendly kiss. Did you ever cheat on me? Her temper flared. Are you serious now? How could you ask me that? I'm continually telling you how much I adore you. I have always been faithful to you. I can't believe you're even thinking that. I quickly apologized for agreeing with her to maintain the peace, and we resumed watching the movie. I chuckled to myself. She could have been an actress, given how convincing she was. It's no wonder she was so good at her work. When the strain subsided, she leaned against my shoulder, and I realized it was time. I grabbed my phone, opened the messaging app, and pulled up a snapshot of Jenna and Tom kissing on the dance floor, his hand resting on her buttocks. What are you doing, Hank? Why are you not watching the movie? Because what I'm looking at is more realistic, I responded calmly. What do you mean? She inquired, her voice becoming apprehensive. I turned my phone's screen toward her and silenced the movie. The image of her and Tom sharing a passionate kiss filled the room. She froze, her mouth moving as if to explain, but no words emerged. That's quite the kiss you're delivering, Tom, I remarked, my tone firm. Where did you obtain those? She eventually managed to inquire. You were at dinner with your friend Tom Foster, correct? My friend Mike noticed you two inside, texted me to confirm whether it was you. It turns out it was. And he sent me this. I have to admit, you look gorgeous in that dress. I have never seen you wear anything so exposing, attempting to impress your guy. Maybe. Go ahead. I am all ears. What is your explanation? She struggled for words, her confidence shaky. It was only one dance. Hank. He was inebriated, and when the song finished, he grabbed me and kissed me. What you don't see is that I hit him immediately after, causing a scene. I would never let it happen. I got that outfit for a business evening and had no idea how revealing it was until now. I'm so sorry. I could tell she was attempting to salvage the situation, but I was not convinced. I got it. Things happen. Was this the only incident? Yes, baby, and that won't happen again, she stated, her voice trembling. I played along as if I believed her excuses. We resumed watching the movie, but Jenna appeared to be on edge. After a few minutes, I reached for my phone again, this time to see a video of her and Tom sitting on a couch, his hand creeping under her skirt. She gave me a worried expression. What are you watching right now? Remember the night you called to tell me you'd had a long day and were about to go to bed? Yes, she whispered. Mike sent me another message around 2 hours later. This time, there was a video. Want to see? I asked, starting to play. The video showed her and Tom kissing on the couch, his hands in places they shouldn't have been. I smiled as I said, I am eager to hear a new explanation. My rage had cooled into contempt and a weird enjoyment at her desperation. Jenny's voice quivered. Hank, I'm deeply sorry. After we hung up, Tom called to discuss a client issue we had scheduled for the next morning. He requested me to meet him in the lobby to discuss some things. I had a couple drinks and became a little tipsy. You know how I get when I've had too much. I understand the video looks horrible, but nothing else happened. I told him to stop. I reminded him that I was married. Then I went inside my room. I raised an eyebrow. That's part of the problem, honeybee, I remarked, seeing her react to the moniker. I have always believed you. But in the last 20 minutes, you have lied to me twice. Can you understand how I'm feeling? I'm sitting at home, and the woman I love is kissing her boss in a club while wearing the most exposing dress I've ever seen her in. How do you suppose I'm feeling? Hank, I love you. She sobbed. That happened 3 months ago. Why didn't you face me before? Honestly, I replied, gazing her down, I wanted to see if you would confess on your own. I hoped you'd be as honest and open as we always have been with each other. But now I can see where we stand. So, are there any other lies? Do you have any feelings for him? Are you considering leaving me? I was teasing her now, relishing the way she squirmed under the weight of her own deception. She began crying louder, screaming repeatedly that she loved me and only me. Jenna, please stop telling me how much you love me. I know you do. I still love you. However, this does not change the reality of the photographs. I need answers. Are there any more lies? She took a long breath, hoping to relax herself. Hank, please believe me. Nothing more than a kiss occurred. I told him to stop each time. I'm not sure what Mike told you, but you have to trust me. I sighed and pretended to examine her words. Okay, sweetheart, I trust you. But here's what I'm not getting. Why did you dress that way for him? You've never worn anything like that for me. Was this for him? Do you have feelings for him? Please, I need the truth. Her tears started flowing again. No, Hank, I just love you. I'd never want to lose you. I'm not sure why I dress that way. Perhaps it's because the other women wore identical clothing. I wanted to fit in. I felt insecure, but nothing happened. I swear. I gave her a long look. My mind is already determined. I get it. But why haven't you told me about Tom and your interactions? Nothing occurred. Why hide it? I did not want to upset you. she whispered. "He's my supervisor, and I didn't want to jeopardize my position. If something had actually happened, I would have informed you immediately. Do you believe me?" I gave Jenna a kiss and softly held her while she grieved. That moment marked the start of my month-long campaign to exact my revenge. That night, we made love, and I became disconnected, envisioning myself as one of her partners. I was not going to deny myself her body, nor would I warn her about anything unexpected. She did an excellent job in her role, but I wasn't concerned at the time. She was more impassioned than ever, attempting to persuade me that I was the only person in her heart. This routine persisted for the next few weeks, every night. Her performance was amazing, and I just sat back and enjoyed the show. As usual, the next morning, I checked the cloud for any new messages from Tom. She did not disappoint. Oh my God. Someone photographed us at the exhibition and forwarded them to Hank. His acquaintance noticed me in the restaurant without Hank. I'm not sure he knows yet, but the video shows us kissing. Damn. Now that you mention it, I recall a man holding a phone across from us. I didn't think much of it at the moment. How did Hank respond? Nothing. I told him that it was no big issue. He has no idea. I stayed the night in your room. I explained that it was only because I had a few beers and had made amends. He's always been easily swayed. After a few kisses and some fantastic sex, he forgets everything. Take care, babe. We will meet tomorrow at 1 p.m. as usual. Cannot wait. Love you. Honeybee, I love you too. That was the final message. I sat there for a bit, soaking everything in. Sure, I felt like the world's biggest fool, but there's a peculiar joy to preparing your retribution. So I continued cautiously and deliberately. Meanwhile, I enjoyed watching Jenny's little charades, curious to see how many more falsehoods she could tell. My first objective was to protect my financial interests. I transferred money, terminated accounts, and the like. I left my main Visa card operational but cut the credit limit to $2,500, just enough to avoid significant consequences. Jenna remained fully unaware of my mounting wrath, never suspecting the alterations I was implementing. I clarified with my lawyer that because I owned the house before we married, I would not be required to leave after the papers were served. Then, I wrote the notorious email. I uploaded videos, texts, and images, intending to send them to all of Jenny's connections, including friends, family, and co-workers. I also made identical binders to send to Mrs. Foster and Mrs. Gray so they could participate in the suffering. These would be disseminated simultaneously with the legal notifications. My lawyer was also prepared to bring public legal actions against her supervisor, Tom, and the CEO, Charlie. Given the company's importance on the East Coast, my lawyer was eager to involve the CEO in the situation. We intended to negotiate a settlement before the full scope of their acts was disclosed. I also worked with a child services attorney to guarantee that I had full custody of the girls, compiling all of the appropriate paperwork. For weeks, everything appeared normal. Jenna and I spent time with the kids, acted like the ideal marriage, and kept up appearances. Our chats avoided the elephant in the room, and I'm sure my silence irritated her. It must have been terrible to tamper with her because I had no idea what I was thinking. I asked a few probing questions here and there. So I asked Jenna, casually one evening, "Has your manager addressed what transpired during the exhibition? Is there anything you need to tell me?" I knew everything from her discussions with Tom, but it was fun to see her lie. I could even guess when she was going to do it. She kept her cool, informing me that nothing had transpired and that their conversations were entirely business. "We've been so busy that we rarely talk anymore," she remarked, her voice steady. I smiled to myself, still surprised at how effortlessly she could deceive me. The mother of my children, the lady I used to love. That night, I determined to let out all of my rage. I confronted her not with words, but by taking complete advantage of her in bed. "Oh my God, Hank," she exclaimed, breathless. What has gotten into you? You're acting so wild tonight. I had never seen you like this before, but I enjoyed it. I just grinned to myself, knowing that this would be our final encounter before everything blew up the next day. I planned to steal whatever I could from my soon-to-be ex-wife. The next afternoon, the sheriff entered Amatech Industries' office and requested to see Mr. Gray. A few moments later, Sheriff Clark handed Charlie an envelope. "Mr. Gray, you have been served." Charlie stood alone in his office, clutching the letter, anxiety gripping him as he read the complaint again and again. He instantly summoned Tom to his office. Tom had already been served. "What the hell? How did this occur?" Tom demanded, storming into Charlie's office. "If my wife finds out about this, I'm finished," Charlie hissed. "This is your responsibility. You assured me that this woman would never expose us like this. Tom, fix this, or I will ruin you and your family. Understand?" Charlie was not a man to cross. He had clawed his way to the top of a multi-billion-dollar firm and had no plans to back down. Tom ran out of the office, his thoughts racing. He needed to speak with Gina quickly, as he moved down the corridor toward her office. He observed the sheriff leave in the same direction, bursting through the door. He spotted Gina sitting at her desk, tears flowing down her cheeks. "What happened?" she stammered, her voice choked with emotion. "How did he find out?" "I'm not sure, but I have been issued with divorce papers," Tom said. "Gray and I are both facing potential litigation for our activities. There must be more evidence than the 2 photographs you showed me. You must tell Hank to abandon this, or Gray will destroy us." Gina sobbed. "Oh my God, Tom, this is terrible. I do not want to lose Hank. I need to find a solution to remedy this." "Do whatever it takes," Tom urged. "Go home. Talk to him. Make him see reason. Please call me tonight to keep me updated." Gina, trembling, packed her belongings and drove home. The guy she loved, the father of her children, was divorcing her. She didn't want things to end like this. She sincerely loved Hank, but she couldn't resist the allure of the affair. Now she needed to convince him that she couldn't lose him over this. When she arrived, the house was empty. The girls were at Hank's sister's house, as they had been every afternoon while we were both working. Gina called Hank's sister to ask if she could babysit the girls overnight. Without hesitation, she consented. Gina showered, fixed her hair and makeup, and waited excitedly for Hank to arrive home. At 6 p.m., she heard the garage door open. Her heart hammered as she anticipated the conflict that was about to occur. "Gina," I remarked as I went in, "I did not expect to see you tonight. I assumed you would be with Tom. Oh, wait, he's married with children. This may become awkward." "Hank, please," she replied, taking my hand and pushing me to sit next to her on the couch. Despite everything, she appeared peaceful, perhaps happier than normal. She had been planning for this. I played along. "Hank, as you know, I was served today, but I do not want a divorce. I adore you and need you. I will not sign those papers. Tom means nothing to me. Yes, we had sex, but it was not love. I simply needed it, and I'm deeply sorry. This will never happen again. I promise." "Oh, do you promise? So in that case, I suppose I can trust you now," I replied with a smile. "Let's forget everything and get back to normal." Gina embraced me and planted a kiss on my lips. "Thank you, baby. I really love you. I'm grateful that you understand. Please forgive me. I will not lie to you again." I swore. I moved away gently, pushing her aside. "You are delusional. Gina, I can't trust you anymore. After all the lies and treachery, there is nothing left. I gave you numerous chances, but you continued to lie, destroying our life. Do you understand what you're doing to our girls? I can't look away, but you don't seem to get why I'm going after Tom and Charlie." Her eyes widened with shock. "Well, your partners operate a multi-billion-dollar firm," I continued. "When I go, I'll need money to support the girls, who are partially responsible for wrecking our marriage and my life. I'm going to ruin them too. I am going to wreck their families, hit them where it matters most financially. and utilize them like they used you. Gina had never seen me like this. Angry, concentrated, and unshakable. She understood she had lost complete control over both the circumstance and myself. Tears ran down her face as she kneeled in front of me, holding my legs and pleading for forgiveness. I felt a spark of sympathy, but my fury was stronger. I carefully carried her onto the sofa and spoke to her in a soothing, even patronizing tone. "Here's the plan, Gina. Pack your belongings and stay with your mother for a few nights. Get yourself a lawyer. We'll set up a meeting to discuss matters. In the interim, some advise. Stay far away from Charlie and Tom. Things are going to become messy." Later that night, Gina went to her mother's house, explaining that there had been a conflict and that she needed to stay for a bit. She called Tom at 11 p.m., which connected Charlie to a three-way call. "Charlie, are you here?" she asked. "Yes, I am here," Charlie said. "Gina? What happened? Did you convince him to drop the lawsuits and divorce?" Charlie demanded. "No," Gina sobbed. "He kicked me out and warned me that things were going to get ugly." Charlie's voice erupted over the phone. "Jesus Christ, Tom, what have you done? You are an idiot. If my wife finds out about this, I'm done. You pledged that this woman would never turn against us. Fix this, or I'll ruin you and your family. Understand?" "I do not know what to do," Gina cried. "Hank is out of control. He ignores my calls and texts." Charlie shut her off. "Tom, you need to schedule a meeting with Hank. Make sure it's somewhere loud and public." "Gina, you'll be there too. If he refuses, we'll try to convince him to back down. Tom and I will discuss how much worse things will be for him and his family if he does not drop the litigation. I have individuals who can handle situations like this, and I will not hesitate to employ them." Tom, shaken, responded, "Yes, Mr. Gray, I do understand. Gina, you know what you need to do." "Yes, Mr. Gray." "Good. Make it happen tomorrow. We are running out of time." Gina and Tom hung up, both filled with dread, while I listened to the call. I was not surprised by their desperation. I was already plotting my next move. The next morning, Tom called to arrange a meeting to resolve things. We arranged to meet at 6 p.m. in a courtyard. By 4 p.m., I was at my private investigator's office ready. We have cutting-edge gear, including noise-canceling microphones, ready to capture clear sound even in the bar's raucous surroundings. The Pi was also present to film the conference as evidence. I arrived at 6:15, deliberately keeping them waiting. When I approached the group, I noticed Gina and her two collaborators. "Gina, I am astonished to see you here with your partners, but I believe we all know where your loyalties are. So, gentlemen, what brought us here?" Charlie was the first to speak up. "Hello, Hank. My name is Charlie Gray. I requested the meeting." "Gray," I remarked, checking him over. "You appear different in person. These videos don't quite do you justice. I can't say. It's nice to meet you." Charlie tried to remain composed. "Hank, I understand your fury. I'm not sure how I would react if I were in your shoes. But we need to talk about something essential." "Go ahead," I said, playing along. "We want you to drop your lawsuits against me, Tom, and the company." I chuckled. "That is it." "Oh, sorry. Milk. Do. Someone must pay for taking away the most important thing in my life." I looked at Jenna, the only woman I have ever loved, the mother of my children. Jenna started to cry, recognized the gravity of the situation. "What will it take for you to end this and get Jenna back?" "Set your price." Charlie spoke, attempting to sound reasonable. I leaned forward, my tone icy at first. No amount of money could persuade me to take her back. She betrayed my trust, my love, and ruined our children's lives. But I will drop the lawsuits on two conditions. 1, I am seeking $5 million in compensation. 2, I want to meet both of your wives. Jenna must confess everything to them. Charlie's face twisted in anger. "Go to hell, Hank. I'll pay you $100,000 if you sign an agreement to keep this quiet forever." I smiled, unconcerned. That won't cut it, but I will reduce it to $4 million on one condition. Your families must understand the truth. Charlie's rage flared. You are sealing your fate. Think about it, Hank. Stop the lawsuits and take Jenna back. It was only a fling. We can solve this. I took out my phone and sent 2 prearranged text messages. Then I accessed my email and sent all of the videos, photos, and texts. Jenna's friends, family, and co-workers had now received them in their inboxes. Meanwhile, 2 couriers stationed outside Charlie and Tom's homes were delivering packages to their wives containing binders of evidence. Charlie's telephone rang, then Tom's. Their wives were calling. Charlie shot me, a furious expression. What the hell, Hank? I am talking to you. Will you drop the lawsuits? I leaned back and kept my voice cool. My response to Tom and Jenna is as follows. Go to hell. Just then. Charlie and Tom's phones rang again. Their cheeks paled as they grasped the gravity of what had just occurred. Jenna stared at me, puzzled. What's happening, Hank? She inquired, her voice shaking. Check your inbox. I said. I believe you will realize soon enough. Charlie, red-faced and enraged, pointed at me. You've died. Hank, I will cut your throat and watch you bleed like a dog. After that, he stormed out of the bar. Tom, on the edge of tears, turned to face me. Why? Why are you doing this to me? I raised an eyebrow. Seriously? You've been using my wife every day for months, destroying our marriage. And you're astonished someone might fight back? Everything I sent to your wife was to let her know the kind of man you are. You ruined countless lives, Tom. Jenny's phone suddenly started ringing, her sister, brother, and aunt. They were all calling after seeing the emails. Jenny's eyes filled with fear when she opened her inbox and saw what I had sent. Her jaw fell as she gazed at me with surprise. How could you do this to me? She whispered. You made things too simple, sweetheart, I replied calmly. I still love you, Jenny, but it is over. After I turn over this recording to the authorities and social services, my lawyer is convinced that I will receive full custody of the girls. You'll be lucky to avoid jail. I apologize, but you must face the consequences. An attack resolved the litigation by giving me $2 million. Charlie Gray was sacked as CEO and left with nothing for violating the morals provision in his contract. He lost over $10 million in stock options and gave up his severance package. He was also sentenced to 5 years in jail for conspiracy to murder. His wife divorced him while he was jailed, leaving him impoverished and homeless. Tom didn't do much better. His wife divorced him, taking half of everything as alimony. He lost his job and received a $1 million fine in a civil trial. He ended up working as a day laborer, insolvent and impoverished. Gina received a 5-year prison sentence, which I helped reduce to 1 year of house arrest and 4 years of probation. She lost custody of the children, and I now have full custody. She falls into despair and stays in her mother's basement, estranged from her family. She has not seen the girls since her self-destructive spiral started. While retaliation provided some satisfaction, it hasn't completely healed my wounds. I still adore Gina, but the treachery persists. Caring for my daughters keeps me going. However, it will be years before I can open my heart to love and trust again. It's incredible how a few minor deeds can devastate so many lives. Caution is advised. Here's the next story. She was acting strange. Did you know that video evidence is the most effective way to prove that someone is lying or cheating? But I could never make myself watch it. Instead, I put up a voice-activated recorder in the guest room and another in our bedroom. I wasn't sure if I wanted to hear what was on the recordings, but I wanted the truth. The recorder in the guest room did not work. The recorder is in the master bedroom. I picked something up. I reluctantly pressed play. At first, I heard a man kissing Marilyn, and his voice was a little breathless. "Oh, Jeremy, this feels great. My wife's voice. I can't believe Joe consented to this. He did not agree." "What? You didn't talk about this with him?" "No. Why should I? Joe lives in blissful ignorance. He's at work, waiting for a promotion, as if he had a chance of landing that post. I dislike that we are cheating. I assumed Joe was fine with this. Simply think of it as swinging, but without Joe sleeping with Millie. Millie would not touch Joe with a 10-foot rod. Millie did not want to sleep with Joe. That is true, but you're being a little harsh with him. I married Joe out of desperation. My guy got me pregnant and then ran away. When I told him, Joe stepped in and proposed to marry me. But then I experienced a miscarriage. He's such a damn Boy Scout. He is dull, boring, and sex with him is awful. That's why I want a terrible lad like you. I turned the recorder off. I'd heard enough. Jeremy, Millie, we are pals. I thought they were great buddies. It was bad enough that he had slept with my wife, but the true sorrow I felt was from the contempt. Marilyn never showed symptoms of neglecting me. She motivated me to work hard for a promotion. She said she had fantastic sex with me. She praised me for being so brave and willing to spare her the disgrace. A thought crossed my head. This will not stand. Knowing that Jeremy had been unfaithful to Millie did not help me. Apparently they are swingers. I wanted vengeance, and I meant it sincerely. I promised myself no more lovely guys, no more Boy Scouts. If she wanted a bad man, I'd show her what that meant. Marilyn arrived home shortly before dinner. I was busy in the kitchen making soup. "Hello, honey, how was your day? Is there any news about the promotion?" She was in a good mood. "There is no news yet. How was your day?" "My day went fairly well, Joe. But I am glad to be home with you. What kind of soup are you preparing?" "It smells amazing." She was so sweet. It almost got me sick. "It's a beef noodle soup with root veggies, very hearty. Something I learned while I was a Boy Scout." The mask slipped slightly, only for a moment. My reply stunned her little, but she quickly recovered her composure. "I can't wait to test it." She stepped up behind me and hugged me. I tightened up, but forced myself to relax. I was thinking of our pals today, Jeremy and Millie, for a moment. Her mask dropped again. "I'm still wondering why we haven't seen them recently. I sometimes get the impression that Millie dislikes me. Why do you believe that? I have a hunch she would not touch me with a 10-foot pole." The mask entirely vanished. "What do you know? I understand you had sex with Jeremy. I know Jeremy assumed you told me about the partner-swapping agreement, but of course you didn't. That did not prevent you from sleeping with him in our married bed. You must think I'm an absolute fool, that I blame you more than Jeremy. You are the one who should have gone away. Was Jeremy the first, or have there been other lovers? Joe, it isn't like that. You said I was stupid and dull. You stated I am horrible in bed. You mentioned that you wanted a terrible dude. Well, you now have one. I've got enough of this nonsense. You return home and act all lovely and charming while in bed with him. You're calling me an idiot. To heck with you. Enjoy your soup. You filthy woman. Goodbye." "Wait, Joe," she shouted. "Please stop. This is so unexpected and confusing. Let us discuss about this." I could explain. "No, not now. I'm frightened of what will happen if I stay any longer. Think about what I've said, and you'll sort it all out soon." I got out of the home and drove away. I should have called a cab or Uber. I was shaking a lot. Adrenaline was flowing through me, and I was terrified of what I would have done if I had stayed. Cooking soup usually calms me down, but this time it did not. I wanted to let out my inner caveman and show her that I wasn't the gentle, lovely guy she thought I was. The trip out of town helped me relax. I located a modest wayside motel on the outskirts of a small town, roughly an hour away from my house. Marilyn. What the hell? This was not the joke. I knew he'd lost his mind. How on earth did he learn what Jeremy and I had said to each other? Joe hadn't given me any indication that he'd observed any changes in my behavior. I had made every attempt to persuade him that everything between us was good. Whatever it was, I'd never seen Joe so enraged. Another thing I can't figure out is why soup. Why would someone prepare a lunch for someone they are about to confront as a fraudster? Damn. He must have added something to the soup. He's attempting to murder me. It might be anything from spit or rat poison. I grabbed a sample of the soup and stored it in the freezer. It might be used as proof of attempted murder. I poured the remainder into the toilet and flushed it away, even if it smelled fantastic. I needed to phone Jeremy. Perhaps this chatterbox let something escape. Jeremy, it's me. Joe knows. He screamed at me and walked out of the home in a rage. Did you say anything to caution him? No. The last time we played golf, everything was fine. We were both speaking about our wives. He didn't know anything. He merely stated that it had been a while since we spent time together as a pair. I'm not sure how, but he clearly understood everything we discussed this afternoon. It was creepy, most likely a covert camera or recorder. He must have thought something was going on in order to set up such an arrangement. I'm not sure what went into him, but I'm going to attempt to bring things back to normal. Until then, we should both relax a little. Marilyn, we need to put a stop to this. I'm sorry, but I've been scared about this since the beginning. Now, I think it's simply wrong. I like Joe and do not want to hurt him. Marilyn, you're a beautiful woman, and I felt drawn to you. But this cannot continue. Do not rush. I've gotten out of difficult circumstances before, Joe. The mattress in the motel was lumpy. The room smelled bad. Thank God it was inexpensive. During my sleepless evenings, I would think on myself. My darling wife was correct about one thing. I'm a dull, predictable man. I've always been a decent guy. I have never been the dangerous bad boy. I did not have tattoos on my arms. I shaved properly every day. I took grooming seriously. I took regular showers. I said, please and thank you. Helped elderly women cross the street and held open doors for them. I was the type of person that parents wanted their daughters to bring home. The difficulty was that most of their daughters would never date someone like me. Everyone wanted the dangerous ones. Marilyn, it seemed, was the exception. She'd had a boyfriend who was the epitome of a man you wouldn't invite home to meet your mother. He was huge, not overweight, and not a bodybuilder. He was never meant to get a Rhodes Scholarship. In short, he was charming. He left town and never returned. Marilyn started speaking to me. We went on several dates. A few months later, she informed me she was pregnant. We hadn't had any intercourse, so I inquired whose child it was. Of course, it was a thug's offspring. Marilyn cried. Overcome with fear and confusion, she put on quite the performance. I've always been the knight in shining armor. I proposed to marry her so that the child would not be born out of wedlock and to defend her reputation. Then she miscarried. What frustrates me the most is that Marilyn always compliments me on being a good guy. Not that she had ever complained about me. According to her, everything between us was fantastic. That's why I was so surprised to hear her disparage me to Jeremy. She called me stupid and dull. A Boy Scout and a doll are in bed. Unbelievable, given that she had always praised me. I needed to speak with Marilyn about this, but only after a decent breakfast. The local eatery offered a great breakfast menu: eggs, bacon, home fries, rye toast served with strawberry jam and strong coffee. Breakfast of champions at home. It was already almost noon when I returned home, much more calm than when I left Marilyn. I called out the moment I stepped in. Come here. I'll be out in a minute. She responded from the restroom. I heard the toilet flush and water running in the sink. I grabbed a bottle of cold water from the refrigerator and drank it. I was wondering when you'd get back. She spoke casually, almost dismissively. We need to talk about a few things, I said. Let us sit in the living room. It is considerably more comfy. We sat in chairs facing each other, which I thought was appropriate. So, what exactly was the point of the dispute last night? Why think of everyone? I had sex with Jeremy. I set a voice-activated recorder in the bedroom. I overheard the conversation last night. I left enough hints for you to figure it out by now. Joe. I admit that yesterday, Jeremy and I had a connection and biking moment. Did you have sex with him in our married bed? That's rather crude. I am merely expressing the facts. My nasty remarks concerning you. That's not how I really feel. It was little more than pillow chat. It was intended to turn Jeremy on. I was only playing. How do I know you aren't playing with me? Maybe you've been playing this game for years, Marilyn. We still have sex on a regular basis, but not as frequently or emotionally as we did when we were young. Are you weary of my passive and uninteresting personality? Why did you choose Jeremy? He would absolutely not have followed you? Millie is about 10 years younger than you, more vibrant and a very gorgeous woman. That's simply harsh and hurtful. Joe? Good. Now you see, I'm not the nice and easygoing guy you thought I was. Millie and Jeremy are swingers. They apparently have an open marriage as well. I know Millie dislikes me since you mentioned it in your bedroom talk last night, and Jeremy concurred. The only reason Millie might dislike me is because you keep giving her the same trash. You have been telling Jeremy that I am lousy in bed. Joe, please, sweetheart, I apologize. I knew Jeremy and Millie were having an affair. I was fascinated about their lifestyle. I was concerned that Millie, being so young and lovely, might lure you to leave me. But I wanted to have some fun, so I opted to speak with Jeremy first. If it had been worthwhile, I would have convinced you to switch partners. It was not worth it. What I do not understand is why you began to suspect something. I'm not the naive, blissfully ignorant idiot that you believe I am. My experience in the Boy Scouts, which you appear to think was a waste, taught me a lot of things. Most essential, be observant. In current parlance, you may call it situational awareness. Millie and Jeremy were old friends, and we used to meet frequently. That has stopped. So I figured something had changed in our connection. I played golf with Jeremy, and he showed no signs of abandoning our connection. In reality, we usually talked about how much our wives loved us. That led me to believe that our disagreements with our friends were caused by you. Looking back, he kept telling me how amazing Millie was in bed. It seemed like a marketing campaign. Most likely, he was attempting to warm me up to the notion of swapping partners. We've recently been quite quiet with each other. Our communication has been distant. Your ideas seem distant. Another reason I sensed something was awry occurred last week. Several days ago, the washing basket overflowed, and as the good man, I did the laundry. I discovered your lovely lingerie stashed deep in a drawer. That is what prompted me to connect the dots. The recorder notion was purely speculative. It was an inexpensive endeavor. And if it didn't produce anything, no damage done. Instead, I received incontrovertible proof, compelling me to take action. Marilyn sat quietly, gazing out the panoramic window with a 1,000-yard look. Joe. I apologize. It was a point of weakness in my life. It was a temptation that I couldn't refuse. I never intended to harm anyone. I hoped it would lead to an exciting new chapter in our lives. I never really meant what I said to Jeremy in bed. You saved my honor. You are my knight in sparkling armor. My Boy Scout is always prepared for everything. I love you. Perhaps it is cliché, but I began to clap slowly. Well done. Bravo. Excellent performance. For a time, she sat still and mute, staring at me with surprise, amazement, and dread. Yes, my love, I have a backbone. If you'd told me you wanted to try swinging, I'd have listened and explained why that wouldn't work for us. However, you selected the secret route. Infidelity. You wanted to sample the forbidden fruit before deciding whether to purchase it altogether. Paint it as beautifully as you want, but it still challenges my trust and her promises, and I know this will hurt. But like pulling a painful tooth, the discomfort ultimately subsides. Today I will contact the lawyer. I can't stay married to someone who is two-faced, as you already know. Please, Joe. I apologized. It was a moment of lunacy. Let's not rush anything. Let us think this thoroughly. You are aware that voice recordings cannot be used as evidence, as neither Jeremy nor I were aware that we were being recorded. Before sleeping with my best friend, You had time to consider and discuss things. This is a done deal. Regarding the recording, I never planned to use it as evidence. I just wanted to make sure I was making the proper decision. And now I am leaving. I stood up, took my glass of water, and walked toward the door. Wait. I need to know. What did you put into the soup? Really? Onion, beef, carrots, zucchini, turnip, parsnip, garlic, oregano, beef stock, white pepper, basmati rice, and a little hot sauce. Why are you asking? I wondered whether you had ruined it somehow. After all, you were angry with me when you did it. I smiled. Believe me, I considered it. But I didn't. I have always been a Boy Scout and will continue to be the nice man. I hope you love the soup, because that will be the final meal I cook for you. Thank you for listening to today's stories. If you enjoyed listening, please like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Also, leave a comment below to share your thoughts on what happened. Take care.